what am I going to do? I am going to send a notice out so that everybody knows we're online. All right. There we go. We are online. Okay, just sent that. And then I'll check, make sure that we are online. Whoops, doesn't look like it. Hold on a second. No, not yet. Wait a second. Let me. Give it a second. Ooh. Wait a second. This is not working. Sorry for the delay, everybody. I just have to make sure that the streaming to YouTube and Facebook is working. Huh. Once more, we'll try. Okay, let's check it again. Sometimes this works and sometimes it doesn't. And it doesn't look like it is working right now. Give me a second. Let me just check this. Oh. Wow. It's not working. We'll try one more time, and otherwise we'll just go ahead with the class. Sorry for the technical difficulty, but this sometimes happens. And if this happens, we're going to go ahead with class and then record the class and then post it later for Facebook and for YouTube. Okay, let me just. Check again. Nope. Let me just see if YouTube is live. Sorry for the delay. Anyway, YouTube is live right now, but Facebook's not for some reason or other. Okay. So we're just gonna let people watch on YouTube, and we're gonna send a link to Facebook later for this class. Okay, let's get started. Better late than never. You got the guitar. Since we're coming up to Janmashtami, of course, we're going to chant Jai Radhe, Jai Krishna, Jai Vrindavan. Jai Radhe, Jai Krishna, Jai Vrindavan. Shri Govinda Gopinath Madana Mohan Shiva Kunda Radha Kunda Giri Govinda Kalindi Jamuna Jaya 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 Ma Kishigata Mamata Manasakana Yakatsa Mandila Koila Shinanda Nanda Shinanda Yashoda Jaya Jaya Gopak Shidamati Jaya Jaya Nirvatsa Jaya Vrishabhana Jaya Kirtinasunari Jaya Purnamasi Jaya Jaya Pari Jaya Jaya Gopishara Vrindavana Shara Jaya Jaya Krishna Saka Bhaktadvi Shura Jaya Rama Kata Jaya Rohini Nanda Jaya Jaya Vrindavasi Bhattacharya Jaya Jwirpad Jaya Nakakanya Bhakti Jaya Garapailo Govinda Chara Shri Rasam Mandala Jaya Jaya Radha Shyama Jaya Jaya Rasa Leela Sada Manubram Jaya 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 Rasa Savarasa Narakiya Bhavanya Vrajate Vrajaya Shri Jana Bhavada Padma Koriyatmarana Dina Krishna Dasa Goe Namasang Kirtan Jaya Radhe Jaya Krishna Jaya Vrindavan Jaya Prabhupada Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada 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 Haribo Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahansa Paravitakacharya also Tata Satashi Shibad His Divine Grace Abhaya Chaitanya Bhaktivedanta Goswami Maharaj Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai ISKCON Founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai Anantakoti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai Namacharya Shilohira Thakur Kijai Prem Se Go Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sidway to Gadadha Shiva Siddhi Gaur Radha Vrinda Kijai Shri Shri Radhakrishna Gopi Gopinath Sayam Kunda Radhakunda Gita Govardhana Kijai Vrindavan Kijai Mathura Kijai Jagannath Swami Kijai Mumai Kijai Shrimati Lasi Devi Kijai Samaveda Bhakta Vrindi Kijai Gaur Premananda Haribol. All glories the assembled devotees. All glories the assembled devotees. All glories the assembled devotees. All glories to Shri Guru Gauranga Shilapopad Kijai Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutale Shrimati Bhaktivedanta Swami Namani Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravadi Pachari Nivashesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deja Tarni. Good to see everybody. Just had a message. It doesn't matter if you see the message on your screen that says it's live streaming. Sometimes it doesn't live stream. You have to check to what it's live streaming to. That's what I'm doing each time. Don't believe everything you see. So anyway, let's read the translation and then we'll go to the Krishna book. All glories to Radha Krishna and the divine forest of Vrindavan. All glories to the three presiding deities of Vrindavan, Shri Govinda, Gopinath, and Madan Mohan. All glories to Shamakun, Radhakun, Govardhan Hill, and the Yamuna River Kalindi. All glories to the great forest known as Mahavana. All glories to Keshigat, the Vamsivat tree, and the 12 forests of Raj. At these places, the son of Nanda, Shri Krishna, performed all of his pastimes. All glories to Krishna's divine father and mother, Nanda and Yashoda. All glories to the cowherd boys headed by Sri Rama. All glories to the cows and calves of Braja. All glories to Radha's divine father and mother, Vrishabhanu, and the beautiful Kirtida. All glories to Purnamasi, the mother of Sandipani Muni. All glories to the young cowherd maidens of Braja. All glories to Gopishwara Shiva, who resides in Vrindavan in order to protect the holy Dham. All glories to Krishna's funny Brahmin friend, Madhavango. All glories to Ramagat, where Lord Balaram performed his rasa dance. All glories to Lord Balaram, the son of Rohini. All glories to all the residents of Vrindavan. All glories to the wives of the proud Vedic Brahmanas. All glories to the wives of the Kaliya servant. Through pure devotion, they all obtained the lotus feet of Lord Govinda. All glories to the place where the rasa dance of Shri Krishna was performed. All glories to Radha and Shyam. All glories to the divine rasa dance, which is the most beautiful of all Lord Krishna's pastimes. All glories to the medal of conjugal love, which is the most excellent of all rasas, and is propagated in Braja by Shri Krishna in the form of the divine Padaki above. Remembering the lotus feet of Shri Lord Nityananda's consort, Shri Janavadevi, this very fallen and lowly servant of Krishna sings the Sankirtan of the holy name. So, Om Ganatimirandasha Gananjana Shilakaya Chakshur and Meditam Yena Tasmai Shigarave Namaha. I offer my respectful obeisances unto the lotus feet of my spiritual master, His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada, who so kindly opened my eyes with the torchlight of knowledge while I was blinded in the darkness of ignorance. So now we will go to Krishna book. And we're going to read the second chapter of Krishna book, and hopefully we can get one chapter done every day. So let's go to the Krishna book. Second chapter of Krishna book, entitled Prayers by the Demigods for Lord Krishna in the womb of Devaki, of course. Okay, let's see. Okay, I think we need to make this a little bit bigger for everyone to see, because many of you are looking on phones. Okay, there we go. So, King Kamsa not only occupied the kingdoms of the Yadu, Bhoja, and the Dhaka dynasties and the kingdom of Sirisena, but he also made alliances with all the demoniac kings as follows. The demon Pralamba, who was killed actually by Balaram. The demon Bakasura, demon Chanura, he was a wrestler. Demon Trinavarta, whirlwind. Demon Agasura, snake. Demon Vishtaka, wrestler. Demon Arishta, bull. Demon Dvidveda, gorilla. Demon Putana, lady. Demon lady witch, demon Keishi, a horse, and demon Dana-Kaw, the jackass. At that time, Jarasandha was the king of the Magadha province known in present as Bihar. Thus, by his diplomatic policy, Kamsa consolidated the most powerful kingdom of his time under the protection of Jarasandha. He made further alliances with such kings as Banasura and Bhaumasura until he was the strongest. Then he began to behave most inimically toward the Yadu dynasty into which Krishna was to take his birth. Actually, he married the two daughters of Jarasandha, not like he actually made an alliance with Jarasandha. That was the standard way of making alliances. Being harassed by Kamsa, the kings of the Yadu, Bhojan, and Dhaka dynasties took shelter in different states, such as the state of the Kurus, the state of the Panchalas, and the states known as Kekiya, Shalva, Vidarbha, Nishada, Videha, and Koshala. Kamsa broke the solidarity of the Yadu kingdom as well as the Bhojan and Andhaka. He made his position the most solid within the vast tract of land known at that time as Bhartavarsha, which is presently India. When Kamsa was killing the 6 babies of Devaki and Vasudeva one after the other, many friends and relatives of Kamsa approached him and requested him to discontinue these heinous activities. But all of them became worshippers of Kamsa because they were afraid of him. Now, these 6 babies, of course, they're called the Shadgarbhas, 6 babies in the womb. And they actually represented lust, anger, greed, delusion, envy, and fear, like that, the Anartas. And they were cursed in a previous birth to be killed by Kalanemi, who later on became Kamsa, and they were cursed by who? Hiranyakashipu, because they had worshipped Lord Brahma without permission of Hiranyakashipu. When Devaki became pregnant for the 7th time, a plenary expansion of Krishna known as Ananta appeared within her womb. That's Balaram, Ananta Shesh. Devaki was overwhelmed with both jubilation and lamentation. She was joyful, for she could understand that Lord Vishnu had taken shelter within her womb, but at the same time, she was sorry that as soon as her child would come out, Kamsa would kill him. At that time, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, being compassionate upon the Yadus, who were fearful due to the atrocities committed by Kamsa, ordered the appearance of Yogamaya, his internal potency. Krishna is the Lord of the universe, but he is especially the Lord of the Yadu dynasty. Yogamaya is the principal potency of the personality of Godhead. In the Vedas, it is stated that the Lord, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, has multi-potencies. Parasha Shaktir Vividaiva Shuyate. That's from the Majjhilila 1365. And actually, it's from the Vedic literatures, one of the Puranas too. All the different potencies are acting externally and internally, and Yogamaya is the chief of all potencies. The Lord ordered the appearance of Yogamaya in the land of Brajabhumi in Vrindavan, which is always decorated and full with beautiful cows. In Vrindavana, Rohini, one of the wives of Vasudeva, was residing at the house of King Nanda and Queen Yashoda. Not only Rohini, but many others in the Yadu dynasty were scattered all over the country due to their fear of the atrocities of Kamsa. Some of them were even living in the caves of the mountains. Because Rohini, she went to Vrindavan because of fear of Kamsa after the 6 children were killed, and she was actually pregnant. And we described this last night and yesterday because she is the mother of Balaram. The Lord thus informed Yogamaya, under the imprisonment of Kamsa or Devaki and Vasudeva, and in the present moment, my planetary expansion, Shesh, is within the womb of Devaki. You can arrange the transfer of Shesh from the womb of Devaki to the womb of Rohini. After this arrangement, I am personally going to appear in the womb of Devaki with my full potencies. Then I shall appear as the son of Devaki and Vasudeva, and you shall appear as the daughter of Nanda and Yashoda in Vrindavan. So the daughter of Nanda and Yashoda in Vrindavan. Subhadra. Since you will appear as my contemporary sister, and since you will quickly satisfy desires for sense gratification, people within the world will worship you with all kinds of valuable presentations, incense, candles, flowers, and offerings of sacrifice. People who are after materialistic perfection will worship you under different forms of your expansions, which will be named Durga, Vajrakali, Vijaya, Vaishnavi, Kumura, Chandika, Krishna, Madhavi, Kanyaka, Maya, Narayani, Ishini, Sharada, and Ambika. So, of course, Yogamaya is the spiritual potency, but from her expands the material potency too, such as Durga. So Krishna and Yogamaya appeared as brother and sister, the supreme powerful and the supreme power. Although there is no clear distinction between the powerful and the power is always subordinate to the powerful. And the words in Sanskrit for that are Shakti and Shakti Mam. Shakti means the power, and Shakti Mam means the possessor of the power. Those who are materialistic are worshippers of the power, but those who are transcendentalists are worshippers of the powerful. So Krishna is the powerful. Krishna is the supreme powerful, and Durga is the supreme power within the material world. Actually, people of the Vedic culture worship both the powerful and the power. There are many hundreds of thousands of temples of Vishnu and Devi, and sometimes they are worshipped simultaneously. The worshipper of the power of Durga, or the external energy of Krishna, may achieve all kinds of material success very easily, but anyone who wants to be elevated transcendentally must engage in worshiping the powerful in Krishna consciousness. Of course, we worship Radha and Krishna. Radha is also Shakti, and Krishna is Shakti Mom, but she is the Adi Shakti, the original Shakti of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, also known as Latini Shakti, the pleasure potency of the Lord. And from her expands all the other Shaktis of the Lord. Shakti means potencies of the Lord. And so from her comes Yogamaya, from her comes Mahamaya, which is the same as Durga. The Lord also declared to Yogamaya, my plenary expansion Anantashesha is within the womb of Devaki. On account of being forcibly attracted to the womb of Rohini, he will be known as Sankarshana and will be the source of all spiritual power, or bala, by which one can attain the highest bliss of life, which is called Ramana. Therefore, the plenary portion, Ananta, will be known after his appearance either as Sankarshana or Balarama. And we talked about Balarama's appearance day yesterday. Anyone's interested, you can look at that class on YouTube. In the Upanishads, it is stated, the purport is that one cannot attain the supreme platform of self-realization without being sufficiently favored by Balaram. Bala does not mean physical strength. No one can attain spiritual perfection by physical strength. One must have the spiritual strength which is infused by Balaram or Sankarshana. Ananta or Sheshanag is the source of the power which sustains all the planets in their different positions. So spiritual strength comes from Balaram through the agency and direction of the spiritual master, because Balaram is the original guru. He is guru. And all the gurus are manifesting or representing Balaram. And Balaram and Nityananda are the same person. Materially, the sustaining power is known as the law of gravitation, but actually is a display of the potency of Sankarshana. Balaram or Sankarshana is the source of spiritual power, or the original spiritual master. Therefore, Lord Nityananda Prabhu, who is also the incarnation of Balaram, is the original spiritual master. And the spiritual master is the representative of Balaram, as I just said, the form of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who supplies spiritual strength. In the Chaitanya Charitamrita, it is confirmed that the spiritual master is the manifestation of the mercy of Krishna. Thus ordered by the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Yogamaya circumambulated the Lord, then appeared within this material world according to his order. When Yogamaya, the supreme power, the supreme powerful personality of Godhead, transferred Lord Shesha from the womb of Devaki to the womb of Rohini, both Devaki and Rohini were under Yogamaya's spell, which is called Yoga Nidra. Nidra means like sleep. In other words, they weren't aware of it because of what Yogamaya was doing. It's not that they were sleeping necessarily, but they were unaware. When this was done, people thought that Devaki's seventh pregnancy had been a miscarriage. It wasn't miscarriage. The embryo was transported. Thus, although Balaram appeared as the son of Devaki, he was transferred to the womb of Rohini to appear as her son. After this arrangement, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, who was always ready to protect his unalloyed devotees, entered within the mind of Vasudeva as the Lord of the whole creation with full inconceivable potencies. It is understood in this connection that the Lord Krishna, first of all, situated himself in the unalloyed heart of Vasudeva and then was then transferred to the heart of Devaki. He was not put into the womb of Devaki by seminal discharge. The Supreme Personality of Godhead, by his inconceivable potency, can appear in any way. It is not necessary for him to appear in the ordinary way by seminal injection within the womb of a woman. When Vasudeva was sustaining the form of the Supreme Personality of Godhead within his heart, he appeared just like the glowing sun, whose shining rays are always unbearable and scorching to the common man. The form of the Lord situated in the pure unalloyed heart of Vasudeva is not different from the original form of Krishna. The appearance of the form of Krishna anywhere and specifically within the heart is called Dhamma. Dhamma refers not only to Krishna's form, but also to his name, his qualities, and his paraphernalia. Everything becomes manifest simultaneously. Dhamma means residence, basically. You have Vrindavan Dham, Mayapur Dham, the residence, the Dham. That means where the Lord's presence is manifested. That is name, qualities, nama, rupa, guna, lila, or nama, guna, rupa, lila, and also his lila. Thus, the eternal form of the Supreme Personality of Godhead with full potencies was transferred from the mind of Vasudeva to the mind of Devaki, exactly as the setting sun's rays are transferred to the full moon rising in the east. Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, thus entered the body of Devaki from the body of Vasudeva without being subject to any of the conditions of an ordinary living entity. Since Krishna was there, it is to be understood that all his plenary expansions, such as Narayana, and his incarnations like Lord Nrsimha and Puraha, were with him. And they also were not subject to the conditions of material existence. In this way, Devaki became the residence of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is one without a second and the cause of all creation. Devaki became the residence of the absolute truth. In other words, Krishna was within her womb, but because she was confined within the house of Kamsa, she looked just like a suppressed fire, or like misused education. When fire is kept in a jug, the illuminating rays of the fire cannot be very much appreciated. Similarly, misused knowledge, which does not benefit the people in general, is not very much appreciated. So Devaki was kept within the prison walls of Kamsa's palace, and no one could see her transcendental beauty, which resulted from her conceiving the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Kamsa, however, the evil Kamsa, however, saw the transcendental beauty of his sister Devaki, and he had once concluded that the Supreme Personality of Godhead had taken shelter in her womb. She had never before looked so wonderfully beautiful. He could distinctly understand that there was something wonderful within the womb of Devaki. In this way, Kamsa became perturbed because he was sure that the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who would kill him in the future, had now come. Kamsa thought, what is to be done with Devaki? Surely she has Vishnu or Krishna within her womb, so it is certain that Krishna has come to execute the mission of the demigods. And even if I immediately kill Devaki, his mission cannot be frustrated. Kamsa knew very well that no one can frustrate the purpose of Vishnu. Any intelligent man can understand that the laws of God cannot be violated. His purpose will be served in spite of all impediments offered by the demons. Kamsa thought, if I kill Devaki at the present moment, Vishnu will enforce his supreme will more vehemently. To kill Devaki just now would be a most abominable act. No one desires to kill his reputation, even in an awkward situation. If I kill Devaki now, my reputation will be spoiled. Devaki is a woman, and she is under my shelter. She is pregnant. And if I kill her, immediately my reputation, the results of my pious activities, and my duration of life will all be finished. So he was quite a pious demon. At least he was concerned about he knew the philosophy. He knew karma and all those other things. Interesting. He wasn't just a stupid, ignorant monster. I mean, he's a monster, but basically he knew more philosophy than 99% of the people in the world do. He further deliberated A person who is too cruel is as good as dead even in this lifetime. No one likes a cruel person during his lifetime, and after his death, people curse him. On account of his self-identification with the body, he must be degraded and pushed into the darkest region of hell. Kamsa thus meditated on all the pros and cons of killing Devaki at that time. So Bhagavad Gita philosophy. Kamsa finally decided not to kill Devaki right away, but to wait for the inevitable future. But his mind became absorbed in animosity against the personality of Godhead. He patiently waited for the delivery of the child, expecting to kill him, as he has done previously with the other babies of Devaki. Thus, being merged in the ocean of animosity against the personality of Godhead, he began to think of Krishna or Vishnu while sitting, while sleeping, while walking, while eating, while working, in all the situations of his life. His mind became so much absorbed with the thought of the Supreme Personality of Godhead that indirectly he could see only Krishna or Vishnu around him. He was completely Krishna conscious. Unfortunately, although his mind was so absorbed in the thought of Vishnu, he is not recognized as a devotee because he was thinking Krishna as his enemy. The state of mind of a great devotee is also to be always absorbed in Krishna. But a devotee thinks of him favorably, not unfavorably. To think of Krishna favorably is Krishna consciousness, but to think of Krishna unfavorably is not Krishna consciousness. So, negative absorption is really intense, sometimes more intense than positive absorption. Like if you're anxiety about something, anxiety is much more intense generally than expectation of something good. At this time, Lord Brahma and Lord Shiva, accompanied by great sages like Narada and followed by many other demigods, invisibly appeared in the house of Kamsa. They began to pray to the Supreme Personality of God in the select verses, which are very pleasing to the devotees and which award fulfillment of their desires. The first words they spoke acclaim that the Lord is true to his vow. That's called Satya Sankalpa. As stated in the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna descends to this material world just to protect the pious and destroy the impious. That is his vow. The demigods could understand that the Lord had taken his residence within the womb of Devaki to fulfill his vow, and they were very glad that the Lord was now appearing in order to fulfill his mission. The demigods addressed the Lord as Satyam Param, means the supreme truth, or the supreme absolute truth. Everyone is searching after the truth. That is the philosophical way of life. The demigods give information that the supreme absolute truth is Krishna. One who becomes fully Krishna conscious can attain the absolute truth. Krishna is the absolute truth because, unlike relative truth, he is truth in all the three phases of eternal time. Time is divided into past, present, and future. Krishna is truth always, past, present, and future. In the material world, everything is being controlled by the supreme time in the course of past, present, and future. But before the creation, Krishna was existing. And when there is creation, everything is resting in Krishna. And when this creation is finished, Krishna will remain. Before the creation, this is one of the Chaturshloki verses from the Bhagavatam. Before the creation, there was I. During the creation, there's I. And after the creation, I continue to exist. Therefore, he is the absolute truth in all circumstances. If there is any truth within this material world that emanates from the supreme truth, Krishna. If there is any opulence within this material world, the cause of the opulence is Krishna. If there's any reputation within this material world, the cause of the reputation is Krishna. If there's any strength within this material world, the cause of such strength is Krishna. If there's any wisdom and education within this material world, the cause of such wisdom and education is Krishna. Therefore, Krishna is the source of all relative truths, and Krishna is the absolute truth. This material world is composed of 5 principal elements. It's called the Pancha Mahabhuta: earth, water, fire, air, and ether. And all such elements are emanations from Krishna. The material scientists accept these 5 primary elements as the cause of the material manifestation. But the elements in their gross and subtle states are produced by Krishna. The living entities who are working within this material world are products of his marginal potency. That's what we described before. Marginal means we can go either way. We're on the margin. We can go to spirit, we can go to matter, we choose. But we are inherently spiritual but we can choose which direction we go. In the 7th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, is clearly stated that the whole manifestation is a combination of the two kinds of energies of Krishna, the superior energy and the inferior energy. The living entities are the superior energy. That's what I just said. And the dead material elements are as inferior energy. But we can associate with the inferior energy and thereby become bewildered. That is our choice. That's the free will. And if we associate with the inferior energy, then karanam gunasa gasha sadasa jana jonishu. We become entangled by the three modes of nature and forced to act helplessly, as the Bhagavad Gita says. Nihikasit shanamapi jatati karma krit karyate yavasa karma savapati jayaguna. Everyone is forced to act helplessly according to the impulses. That's animal life. Human life means you control your impulses. I just felt like I couldn't control myself. Then it's animal life. Then it's just like, like a dog. A dog walks up to something, dog will pass urine or eat or fight or have sex. I mean, that's animal life. And dog doesn't use this discrimination. Is this good food? Is this bad food? Is this a friend? Sometimes the dogs attack their friends, the masters sometimes get attacked by the dogs because they can't control their senses. And sometimes they attack the children of their masters. I mean, this happens sometimes. The demigods continue to offer the respectful prayers into the supreme form of the personality God and Krishna by analytical study of the material manifestation. What is this material manifestation? It's called Sankhya, analytical. It is like a tree. A tree stands on the ground. Similarly, the tree of the material manifestation is standing on the ground of material nature. The material manifestation is compared to a tree because a tree is ultimately cut off in due course of time. A tree is called a vriksha. Vriksha means that thing which will be ultimately cut off. It's interesting. Vriksha means that thing which is ultimately cut off. Therefore, this tree of the ultimate of material manifestation cannot be accepted as the ultimate truth because it is influenced by time. But Krishna's body is eternal. He existed before the material manifestation. He is existing while the material manifestation is continuing. And when it will be dissolved, he will continue to exist. Therefore, only Krishna can be accepted as the absolute truth. Wow. While the material manifestation, anyway, we went over that before. So, what was I going to say? I was going to say something. Oh, yeah. So I was talking about how in the 15th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, the material world is compared to the reflection of a tree with its branches down and its roots up. So it's a backwards thing. It needs to be cut down. How is it cut down? Bhagavad Gita, 15th chapter tells you we cut it down by giving up false prestige, giving up illusion, giving up duality, giving up bad association, being established in Krishna consciousness, giving up lust, giving up dualities like happiness and distress. And in such a unbewildered state, one can go back to Godhead. So one has to cut this tree down with detachment. That uses the intelligence to know what to do and what not to do. If you use your mind, it's just impulse again. There's like grunting. Grunting one animal, grunting another. Like that Tarzan movie. Me Tarzan, you Jay. One has to use his intelligence, and one has to have a goal in life. Intelligence means you have a goal. Of course, the best goal is spiritual. But even if you have a material goal, you have to control your senses. I mean, you're going to be successful in business, or you're going to be successful in life, or you're going to be successful in family life. You can't really just be giving in to your impulses all the time. It'll be a disaster for your life. This tree has two kinds of fruits, distress and happiness. Those who are living in the tree of the body are like two birds. Here's the story about Krishna is in our heart, the soul is in our heart. So one bird is the localized aspect of Krishna, known as Paramatma, who's watching us. And the other bird is the living entity. The living entity is eating the fruits of the material manifestation. In other words, we're trying to enjoy. Sometimes it eats the fruit of happiness, and sometimes it eats the fruit of distress. Sometimes you get a bitter fruit. Sometimes you get sweet fruit. But the other bird is not interested in eating the fruits of distress and happiness because he is self-satisfied. That's Krishna. Krishna's in the heart, and he's watching you, and he's waiting for you to turn back to him, and he's wondering why you're acting like a jackass. The Katha Upanishad states that one bird on the tree of the body is eating the fruits, and the other bird is simply witnessing. The roots of this tree extend in three directions. This means that the root of the tree is the three modes of material nature: goodness, passion, ignorance. Just as the tree's roots expand, so by association with the modes of material nature, goodness, passion, ignorance, one expands his duration of material existence. The tastes of the fruit are four kinds. Religion, this is religiosity, dharma, artha, kama, moksha. Religiosity, economic development. Economic development can mean also acquiring things, not necessarily just money or gold. And then sense gratification, using the things that you acquired The audio is actually quite strong today, for those I just saw in the chat window. Using the things that you acquired to enjoy yourself grossly. And then when you get good and frustrated, moksha, liberation. So these are the four stages. You do some dharma, then you get some economic development, you get some, things from it. Then using those things, whatever you get, nice wife, money, then you enjoy, or a nice husband, then you enjoy sense grad, and then you get frustrated, and you say, give it all up. I just want to end it all. Hopefully you don't commit suicide, but if you're Vedic, you'll actually go for liberation, just ending it all. But we're interested in something beyond that, which is called the Panchama, the fifth goal, which is Krishna Prema, which gives you eternity, bliss, and knowledge. According to the different associations in the modes of three modes of material nature, the living entities are tasting different kinds of religiosity, different kinds of economic development, different kinds of sense grad, and different kinds of liberation. Practically all material work is performed in ignorance. But because there are three qualities, sometimes the quality of ignorance is covered with goodness or passion. Ignorance means, in this context, that not being aware of Krishna, not being aware of the person behind everything, not being aware of the purpose of everything. That's ignorance. So you can be in ignorance in the mode of goodness. Because ignorance, in addition to referring to a mode of nature, can refer to ignoring something, ignoring the reality of life. So you can be in ignorance when you're in goodness. In fact, you will be in ignorance when you're in goodness, unless the goodness is Vishuddha Sattva, Krishna consciousness. The taste of these material fruits is accepted through the five senses. The five sense organs through which knowledge is acquired are subject to the six kinds of whips. Whips doesn't sound so attractive. Lamentation. Why? What happened? How did I lose that? Why don't I have that? Illusion on the body. Infirmity. Tell me about infirmity. Death. Hunger. Thirst. This material body or material manifestation is covered by 7 layers: muscle, blood, marrow, bone, fat, and semen. This is like Ayurveda. The branches of the tree are 8: earth, water, fire, air, ether, mind, intelligence, and falsetto. So the Panchamahabhuta, that the gross elements are earth, water, fire, air, and ether, and the subtle elements are mind, intelligence, and ego. There are 9 gates in this body through which we're trying to enjoy: the 2 eyes, 2 nostrils, 2 ears, 1 mouth, 1 genital organ, and 1 rectum. And they're set 10 kinds. This is all Ayurvedic stuff. 10 kinds of internal air with passing within the body: prana, apana, udana, vyana, samana, etc. Those who know yoga know what we're talking about. So these are the different airs. These are some of the very subtle airs that cause the digestion, like that. And the Ayurvedic physician, he can actually measure these errors. He puts his hand on your wrist or your fingers on your wrist, and he can tell you what's wrong and where it's wrong. I mean, it's really miraculous. I mean, one time I knew what I had wrong, which is I had a hernia. It was years ago. This was taken care of already, years and years ago. So I just wanted to see if this Ayurvedic physician knew what he was doing. So he put his hand on my wrist and he said, "You have a hernia." I said, "Well, that's miraculous. How did you know?" He could tell through the functionings of these life errors, which is interesting. The two birds seed in the tree is explained above with the living entity and the localized supreme personality of Godhead, Paramatma. The root cause of the material manifestation described here is the supreme personality of Godhead. The supreme personality of Godhead expands himself to take charge of the three qualities of the material world. Vishnu takes charge of the mode of goodness. Brahma takes charge of the mode of passion, and Lord Shiva takes charge of the mode of ignorance. Brahma, by the mode of passion, creates this manifestation. Lord Vishnu maintains this manifestation by the mode of goodness, and Lord Shiva annihilates it, that means destroys it, by the mode of ignorance. The whole creation ultimately rests in the Supreme Lord. He is the cause of creation, maintenance, and dissolution. And when the whole manifestation is dissolved in its subtle form as his energy, it rests within his body. At present, the demigods pray. The Supreme Lord Krishna is appearing just for the maintenance of this manifestation. Actually, the Supreme Cause is one by less intelligent persons being deluded by the three modes of material nature. One by less intelligent persons being deluded by three modes of material life, but see that the material world is manifest through different causes. Those who are intelligent can see that the cause is one, Krishna, as it's stated in the Brahma Samhita, Ishvara Paramat Krishna Sarva Karna Karnam, which means Krishna is the supreme controller. He's the cause of all causes. That's the first verse of the Brahma Samhita. Krishna, the supreme personality of God, is of all causes. Brahma is the deputed agent for creation. Vishnu is the expansion of Krishna for maintenance. And Lord Shiva is the expansion of Krishna for dissolution. Our dear Lord, the demigods prayed, it is very difficult to understand your eternal form or personality. People in general are unable to understand your actual form. Therefore, you are personally descending to exhibit your original eternal form. Somehow people can understand the different incarnations of your lordship, but they are puzzled to understand the eternal form of Krishna with two hands moving among human beings exactly like one of them. This eternal form of your lordship gives ever-increasing transcendental pleasure to the devotees, but for the non-devotees, this form is very dangerous. As stated in the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna is very pleasing to the sadhus, parichanaya sadhunam, Gita, 4th chapter, text 8. But this form is very dangerous for the demons because Krishna also descends to kill the demons. He is therefore simultaneously pleasing to the devotees and dangerous to the demons. Our dear lotus-eyed Lord, you are the source of pure goodness. There are many great sages who simply by samadhi or transcendentally meditating upon your lotus feet and thus being absorbed in your thought have easily transformed the great ocean of nescience created by the material nature into more than the water in a calf's hoofprint, no more than the water. The purpose of meditation is to focus the mind upon the personality of Godhead, beginning from his lotus feet. Simply by meditation on the lotus feet of the Lord, great sages cross over this vast ocean of material existence without difficulty. Oh, self-illuminated one, the great saintly persons who have crossed over the ocean of nescience by the help of the transcendental boat, nice metaphor, of your lotus feet have not taken away that boat. It is still lying on the side. If one takes a boat to cross a river, the boat also goes with one to the other side of the river. And so when one reaches the destination, how can the same boat be available to those who are still on the side? To answer this difficulty, the demigods say in their prayer that the boat of the Lord's lotus feet is not taken away. The devotees still remaining on this side are able to pass over the ocean of material nature because the pure devotees do not take the boat with them when they cross over. When one simply approaches the boat, the whole ocean of material nescience is reduced to the size of the water in a calf's footprint. Therefore, the devotees do not need to take the boat to the other side. They simply cross the ocean immediately. Because the great saintly persons are compassionate toward all conditioned souls, the boat is still lying on this side. In other words, one can meditate upon the lotus feet of the Lord at any time, and by so doing, one can cross over the great ocean of material existence. I wonder if there's a lot more in this chapter. Meditation means concentration upon the lotus feet of the Lord. Lotus feet indicates the Supreme Personality of Godhead, but those who are impersonalists do not recognize the lotus feet of the Lord, and therefore their object of meditation is something impersonal. The demigods express their mature verdict that persons who are interested in meditating on something void or impersonal cannot cross over the ocean of nescience. Such persons are simply imagining that they have become liberated. O lotus-eyed Lord, their intelligence is contaminated because they fail to meditate upon the lotus feet of your lordship. As a result of this neglectful activity, the impersonalists fall down again into the material way of conditional life, although they may temporarily rise to the point of impersonal realization. Impersonalists undergo severe austerities and penances to merge themselves into the Brahman effulgence or impersonal Brahman existence, but their minds are not free from material contamination. They have simply tried to negate the materialistic way of thinking. That does not mean that they have become liberated, thus they fall down. In the Bhagavad Gita, it is stated that the impersonalist has to undergo great tribulation, that's the 12th chapter, in realizing his ultimate goal. At the beginning of Srimad Bhagavatam, it is also stated that without devotional service to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, one cannot achieve liberation from the bondage of fruitive activities. The statement of Lord Krishna is there in the Bhagavad Gita, and in Srimad Bhagavatam, the statement of the great sage Narada is there. And here also the demigods confirm it. Persons who have not taken to devotional service are understood to have come short of the ultimate purpose of knowledge and are not favored by your grace. The impersonalists simply think that they are liberated, but actually they have no feeling for the personality of Godhead because they think that when Krishna comes in the material world, he accepts the material body. Therefore, they overlook the transcendental body of Krishna. This is confirmed in the Bhagavad Gita, Avajananti Mam Mudha, Bhagavad Gita 9:11. Those who think like that are asses, Krishna is saying. In spite of conquering material lust and rising to the point of liberation, the impersonalists fall down if they are engaged just in knowing things for the sake of knowledge, do not take to the devotional service of the Lord. They cannot achieve the desired result. Their achievement is the trouble they take, and that's it. That's all. Let's see how much more we have. Shouldn't be much more. Ooh, quite a bit more. So anyway, so I think we should take some questions now. I thought we were going to finish the chapter, but we did not finish the chapter. So let me just mark where we are, and then we can take some of the questions. Let's see. That is all. Okay. So let us take a few questions. We have 5 more minutes to take questions. I definitely want to have time for people to ask questions every day. It's quite a lot of subject matter that we actually covered today. So anyone have any questions? Rishikesh, you have a question?
Yes, Gurudev. Just a quick question, Gurudev. Thank you for the class. When Kamsa initially heard that announcement, from the sky, he immediately wanted to cut the head. At that time, he did not contemplate, It's pretty strange behavior.
Because it was the spur of the moment. Sometimes okay. Something happens real quickly. You don't have time. When you're first informed about something, you act, I guess, spontaneously or without thinking. So, it was just like it triggered him. So even the demons, they do plan things out. They don't just act on the spur of the moment. I mean, if the demons always acted on the spur of the moment, you'd be able to defeat them really easily. They'd just be like animals. But the demons have to have some passion. Intelligence and passion means that they plan things out. They have strategies. So, but sometimes when something happens all of a sudden, then you just like,
yep.
You respond without thinking. Like if someone, like someone yells at me, then I may yell back immediately. And in the long run, I'm thinking, should I have done that? If I don't yell at them, then I'll think of some other strategy. That's normal psychology. Is that right? Rishikesh, there? I guess you're not there. Okay, so here's another question. Baladev appeared as the seventh child of Devaki because, he didn't appear as the seventh child of Devaki. He was the seventh child of Devaki, but he didn't appear because they thought it was a miscarriage because he was transferred. Let me get into more of the esoteric details. Rohini, that is Baladev's mother, and Devaki is also Baladev's mother. Rohini was pregnant already. She was like 2 or 3 months pregnant. And being pregnant, she was with Vasudev. She didn't get pregnant in Vrindavan, obviously. She was with Vasudev. And after the 6th child was killed by Kamsa, Rohini was sent by Vasudev to Vrindavan to stay with Nanda Maharaj. Nanda Maharaj was Vasudev's half brother. So he thought, he'll protect Rohini. So she was pregnant. And she was pregnant. Now, this is very esoteric. She was pregnant with Balaram. So, and Devaki was also pregnant with the expansion of Balaram, Ananta. And so Yogamaya takes the embryo, which is Ananta, Balaram, from Devaki and transfers the embryo to Rohini. And because that embryo was the expansion of Balaram and Vrindavan, then there was no need to kill the embryo that Rohini had. Couldn't kill because it's Balaram. So basically, in one sense, we say they became one. They were already one, but they manifested as one. How about that? And so, very, very esoteric. It's very similar to the story of the appearance of Krishna when Krishna was actually, according to Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, Krishna was actually the son of Nanda and Yashoda, Brajendra Nandana. And the expansion of Krishna, known as Vasudeva Krishna, who came from Vasudeva and Devaki, became one with the Krishna in Vrindavan, who had been born from Yashodamai. And Yashodamai had given birth also to a daughter. That's why it says here. That's very interesting. I was thinking about this as I was reading it. Prabhupada was talking about how Subhadra is actually the daughter of Yashoda. It's very interesting. And also Subhadra is the daughter of Vasudeva with one of his other wives. So there's another transfer going on there that's not mentioned. Because anyway, it's a very interesting exchange. So Balaram appeared. He didn't appear as the seventh. He was the seventh child of Devaki, but he didn't appear because he was within the womb. And then there was the transfer to Rohini and Vrindavan. I hope that makes it clear. So interesting. We talked about that last night in our class that we gave during Balaram Jayanti, Balaram's appearance in the temple. So a little esoteric stuff going on here. So thank you very much. I think it's time to end. I thought we were going to finish this chapter, but I guess not. So we'll see everybody tomorrow to finish this chapter and begin the next chapter. All glory is to His divine grace, Srila Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada. Ki